All right, let's journey back, way back. We're going to explore a Europe that existed long before Rome was even a big deal, and uncover the story of the people who really shaped it first, the Celts.
So try to picture it. Before the legions, before all those famous stone roads, there was a completely different world.
A world of deep, secret forests and the glint of iron blades. A world where history wasn't written down in books, but was alive, carried in the memories of poets and priests.
Now this was a fierce, incredibly vibrant culture. We're talking about an influence that stretched from the shores of the Atlantic all the way to the Black Sea.
Yeah, the Romans fought them, and they definitely had some choice words for them. But in many ways, Rome was also profoundly shaped by them. Deep down, Rome was afraid of them. So who were these people? Where did they come from? And maybe the biggest question of all, how did a people without a single unified empire manage to dominate almost all of Europe?
Well, to find the answer, you have to get this one key idea. Pre-Roman Europe wasn't some empty wasteland. No, it was alive with thousands of different tribes, all connected by something much more subtle and maybe more powerful than an empire.
And here's the fascinating part. They didn't call themselves Celts. That was a name that Greek and Roman outsiders gave them. But they knew who they were. They recognized each other. They shared this incredible, distinct art style, a common way of fighting, similar languages, and sacred symbols. This was Celtic Europe.
So where does their story even begin? Not with grand cities, but with metal. With a technological revolution that would forge a brand new power right in the heart of the continent.
You see, around 1300 BCE, you had these thriving Bronze Age societies, what we call the Urnfield culture. But then, around 800 BCE, everything changes. Iron comes along. And iron is stronger, it's cheaper, and there's a lot more of it. That single shift gave rise to what we call the Hallstatt culture, the very first people we can truly identify as Celts.
And let me be clear, these were not simple, primitive farmers. The archaeology is just overwhelming on this point. The Hallstatt elites were incredibly sophisticated and wealthy. They controlled the most vital resources. We're talking salt and iron. They commanded trade routes, and they were even importing luxury goods like wine all the way from Greece. Their leaders, they were buried in style, with chariots and tons of gold.
And from this powerful core, something incredible happened. A massive expansion began. Over the next few centuries, Celtic tribes just exploded across the continent with unbelievable speed.
They were driven by growing populations and, let's be honest, a warrior culture that rewarded taking new land. They pushed west into what's now France and Spain, they went north into the British Isles, and east into the Balkans. And then, in 390 BCE, they did the unthinkable. They stormed over the Alps, smashed a Roman army, and sacked the city of Rome itself. This event left a deep, deep psychological scar. For literally centuries after, the phrase, "Remember the Gauls," was a chilling warning for every Roman, a reminder of the terror that could sweep down from the north.
Now, if you read Roman writers, you get this picture of the Celts as these wild, irrational savages. But, as you can probably guess, modern archaeology tells a much, much different story.
So on one side, you've got the Roman propaganda, this image of mindless barbarians. And on the other, you've got the hard evidence of a highly advanced and complex warrior society.
I mean, their military sophistication was just undeniable. Their swords, some of the best in Europe. They actually invented chainmail armor. Think about that. Their whole society was built around concepts of honor and reputation. And those warriors who fought naked, that wasn't some crazy irrational act. It was a sacred belief. It was psychological warfare. Fear was a weapon, and to them, dying in battle was the path to eternal honor.
Right at the very center of this complex world, holding it all together, was a class of people unlike any other. They were the druids.
And the druids were so much more than just priests. I mean, they were the judges, the scientists, the astronomers, and the philosophers of their people. They were the intellectual elite, spending decades, sometimes a whole lifetime, memorizing immense volumes of law, history, and sacred lore. Which brings us to this really fascinating question. With all this incredible knowledge, all this training, why did they refuse to write any of it down?
And the answer, well, it gets right to the heart of how they saw the world. To a druid, knowledge wasn't some static thing you could just carve on a tablet and forget about. No, it was a living, breathing force. Memory was power. And that kind of power had to live inside people, to be passed down from one generation to the next, always alive.
Of course, this Celtic world was on a collision course with that new, relentless force from the south. But their story doesn't end with conquest, it's really a story about endurance.
Here's the tragic irony. The Celts' greatest strength was also their fatal flaw. They were this vast world of independent and often rival tribes. They fought with incredible bravery, but they fought separately. Rome, on the other hand, was a single, disciplined, unified machine. And one by one, the Celtic tribes fell.
But, and this is the truth that history so often overlooks, the Celts were not erased. They couldn't be. Their culture adapted. Their gods started to merge with Roman ones. Their unique art influenced styles across Europe. And their people, well, they became part of the empire. They transformed.
And in the places that Rome never quite reached, like Ireland and the Highlands of Britain, their culture survived almost completely untouched. And that legacy? It is still alive and kicking today. You can hear it in the Celtic languages still being spoken, and you can feel it in the proud identity of modern nations like Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and Brittany.